Hello and welcome to Mostly Sapphic Books, where I read mostly sapphic books. Cat. My cat's in frame. Just a little bit. Just the ears. That's fun. Today we have Providence Girls by Morgan Dante. This is a historical fantasy about mermaids, but not pretty mermaids. Outer god, elder gods, horrific horror mermaid. You can see it's quite gruesome. Her face is pretty. Although I'll say spoilers, she loses her hair, so these luscious locks are a bit non-representative of the text. She also loses her nipples, apparently. That's not specified. I don't know if that happened. But you can see these very sort of inflamed gills. She's very fish person-y. Not a pretty mermaid, even though she's kind of pretty on this cover. In the book, she's an alien lady. She starts off human and then she transforms slowly and horrifically and painfully into a mer creature of the deep. This takes place in the 1930s in Providence, Rhode Island. There's a lot of like local folklore, mythology, paranormal stuff mentioned in this book. I don't know if that's actually typical of the region, but it felt immersive in this book. So you have Lavinia she's a woman in her late 30s who has been raised in a cult, raised and abused in a cult. One day she runs away, is tired of it, is about to be killed and sacrificed to a different weird, creepy outer god. So she runs away and she ends up being found by Asenath, the mermaid lady. And she ends up, this is my other cat. Hello. She ends up, Azzy the mermaid lady takes her in and she ends up staying there and they end up falling in love. Then Lavinia quickly realizes that while Azzy at this point appears to be human, something is wrong with her, and since she has experience with these occult cults, she recognizes that it's something supernatural going on. They bond anyway, despite their traumas, despite their very strange, horrific situations. They bond and fall in love. This is a good book. I liked it. I liked the tone. It's got a lot of unique factors going for it. When you have these creepy mermaids, but you also have the historical aspect of being in the 1930s. So they have this limited technology. They're in this not remote location, but sort of near the sea, sort of remote location with its own history. Some of the language seems a bit outdated, not outdated, dated to the period that it's supposed to be from. Pretty short book, 207 pages. So not long, but it does a good job telling the story. It doesn't feel rushed or too short. You get a good build-up of them getting to know each other and learning to trust each other, despite the fact that they're both in places where they can't trust anyone because one of them is from a cult. Actually, they're both from cults and they're both suspicious of other people. So it's historical horror fantasy, which is like a really interesting blend. I think it's definitely a unique read. I can't tell you a lot of occult mermaid stories. I've read other mermaid stories, but not like this, and definitely not set in this time period. So it has a lot of interesting things going for it. I think it definitely fills a niche. If this is up your alley, I think you'll like it. I think you'll be quite pleased with this. The only thing I could knock this for is the formatting. It's allegedly epistolary. So it's told in dual point of views, alternating point of views of these two women writing letters addressed to each other. In every chapter, one of them is referred to as you, except for there's like one point where I saw that it said Vin stirred instead of you stirred. And Vin is referred to as Vin and as you at different points on the same page. So I think that might have been like one mistake. But this book's allegedly letters addressed to each other, to the other characters, but it's not. It reads for the most part, like just a regular novel. It's very in scene. You get plenty of dialogue. Like these aren't real letters. Like they're just not, because they relay exact dialogue, exact like little movements and things that are in a regular book that you would just never notice in real life and would never bother putting in a letter, especially to a person who was in that scene with you. You would never notice that you were fiddling with the book in your hands. Like you just would never write that in a letter. So it's not actually epistolary, but it sort of canonically is. You do get points where the character writing the letter is clearly from the future, and they'll make references to, oh, we didn't know how little time we had, or this comes up later, things like that, where they're clearly telling the story from a future perspective. And you'll also have moments where one of them's like, I sat down at the typewriter, but I'm really tired and it's hard to type with my hands turning into fins. So it's canonically letters. They don't feel like real letters, which is fine because it just feels like a regular book, which is good. I think the writing is good for the most part, so it's a perfectly good readable book. Choosing to go the epistolary format and not committing to it, or committing to it in a weird way, didn't quite succeed. They aren't actually sending these letters to each other either. You get their whole story. The letters detail like every moment of their whole story over these few months of them being together. But they're not sending them, I don't think. It doesn't feel like they're communicating. No one says like, oh, I got your last letter, and this is the next part of our story. There's no point where it says, we are writing our memoirs together. I'm gonna jot down everything exactly as I remember it, and then you're gonna pick up the next big moment in our lives, in our relationship, and then I'm gonna write the next part and you're gonna write the next part. It's not like that. So the letter format was kind of weird, but again, it's perfectly readable. That's really my only knack for this book. I quite liked it. It has older characters as well. Lavinia's like 30 something, late 30s. They're writing the letters like 15 years afterward, so she's like almost 50 or something by the end of the book. So you have like older characters, again, historical, it's horror, mermaids. It has a lot of unique things going for it, and I do think the writing was good. So I could forgive all of the weird epistolary choice that I don't think was exactly successful in what it wanted to be. I don't want to say it was gimmicky. It wasn't gimmicky. It was just a way for the voice to be set in the future and to be narrating past events with the sort of knowledge that the character in the present tense wouldn't have. I don't know. I don't know why that was the choice, but it was fine. Just another unique aspect of the book. I would definitely classify this book as unique. That's the best word I would use to describe this. If it sounds interesting, you'll like it. It's unique and it's well done. So if it sounds interesting, if you like any of those tropes, especially any combination of those tropes, I don't want to say tropes, just genres, horror, historical, lesbians, they're lesbians, Azzy's bisexual maybe. And Lavinia has also had relations with men, but it's a sapphic romance. It's a sapphic romance. Yeah, that's it. Not a lot to say. Good book. I forgot to talk about the monster fucking. There's monster fucking, if you're into that. Can I say monster fucking on YouTube? I'm unfamiliar with the monster fucking genre, but I know it as a meme and I know some people like that. So there's some of that in this, if that's your thing. Short review, I do other book reviews. I read every genre of lesbian fiction. I want to read every book that has lesbians in it. Yes, all of them. I do lots of book reviews. I have a Goodreads. You can see all the books I've read. I read a lot. If you want to rec a book that I haven't read, that you think I might like, or just want to know about, feel free to do that. Like, subscribe, the general YouTube stuff. Whatever. Whatever, don't subscribe, just read the book. It's pretty good.